welcome to Mercy TV, your source for news and information on the cannabis issue as that issue unfolds here in Oregon and across America and around the world. Greetings. That is producer PK. I'm Perry Normal, and this is Sunny.
Hello.
What's happening, Sonny?
It's a beautiful day.
There you go. This is episode, I don't know what number,
6 or 7
on our COVID-19 series during the pandemic. We're not in the studio, so wherever we can put our show together, we do it, by golly, because we got a lot of news and information to get out there to people, because God is a lot of ignorance going about nowadays.
So, Maggie, I hope you got your ballots in the mail and the right person will be elected. But it all takes you to have this happen.
Well, and it's important that your cannabis is being done because the plants are being done right now.
Well, I saw a report about how the cannabis and the COVID-19 series, folks that are medical cannabis patients, and how they are affected versus other folks, because it's supposed to be that cannabis takes down your immune system, when in fact they're finding out it's doing the opposite. So that much information, I can't say that cannabis is a cure for COVID-19 yet, but I'm sure, like with other things, it helps your body be its best, so it's best fighting things,
Back to talking to your doctors.
Yeah.
Back to that's what you want to do is talk to your doctors.
Right. And
That's
nurses,
the most important talk.
and the hospice house where you're at, if that's your situation.
And thank you to CCTV.
Yeah, for
Yes.
giving us the equipment here after proper sterilization and all that. So here we are during the time of cannabis and COVID-19.
6
And
feet apart.
So yes, it's important, obviously, first off, for cannabis consumers, particularly when you're gathered, to practice safe measures, healthy. Make sure you can get separate smoking devices if you're smoking or if you're consuming. And an important item to pass on to folks, and sadly a lot of folks are really ignorant about things like this, but I guess the best news for cannabis consumers is you don't have to smoke it. So those concerned about, you can't have that, and it's like, well, you don't have to. So
The formula for the healing oil. I had a 5-gallon bucket with a top. I took what cannabis I had. Luckily it was flour that I put in there. But you can use the leaf also. You can use all the way to the roots of the plant. But you have to soak it in the bucket for 28 days, stirring it several times each day to agitate, taking what's in the bottom up to the top, so it breaks down the molecules in the flour or in the product. But with this, and it's olive oil to vegetable oil, and it doesn't make a difference, but the quality of the product that you're using makes the quality of the results.
Well, it's back to the strain of the medicine and the oils that you have and the medicine that you have and what is your condition. And all of these things make a difference. See, these are what is the matter.
Yeah.
You know, this is what is important, but give yourself a chance. Give the patient a chance. You know, don't quit.
Right. Well, first they've got to try the cannabis, first. If for folks that are first time experiencing cannabis, should probably, take
Small doses.
right, whatever format,
Back to educating.
if they can consume it through vaporizer, other means, and they can,
Edibles.
make a tea out of it. That's probably the quickest, simplest way to get a cannabis into a quickly consumable, non-smoking form there.
And hopefully you have a T-ball to put the cannabis in, so
Right, just like you would seep it, just like you do tea, and have it get into the water, and then, consume the water. And I got an email the other day speaking about alternative means for cannabis. I got an email recently about Canisol, where to get it. And for those of you not aware, Canisol is a liquid form. It's of cannabis, and it's used for treating for eye, applying into the
Glaucoma?
eye. So it's for glaucoma patients mainly, but any eye ailment that cannabis would apply to. And
It's because cannabis helps your vision. And I have known this forever. But you, as the patient, have to give yourself the chance. It's back to education.
right, yeah, a lot of folks are afraid to try cannabis for their glaucoma or anything else for all the wrong reasons.
and you can do research if you can do research.
Right.
There's that opportunity of the smartphone and your computer and the internet system.
Yeah, library too, old-fashioned, but still works. And so, yeah, research it, find out about this stuff, and you can always visit our website, mercycenters.org, where we try to get the pertinent information, like, as Sonny was saying, there's different strains that are higher in certain elements, and once we end the war, we'll be able to study it and find out more about, the different strains, exactly what's in it, because right now we've only identified a small portion of the different elements in there. We know there's THC and there's THCF and THCV, and then there's also the cannabinols, cannabinoids.
Well, because some go for other conditions.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're finding out that certain cannabinols are working better for certain conditions than others.
Like cancers.
But that's on, they're doing the research and letting you know.
Or
the
not.
result.
Or not.
Or not.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of it's getting done without official government sanction, so it's getting done in foreign countries. Israel's doing a lot of research on it, has already done on it really since the 60s.
That's why Mercy's doing
What we're doing,
what we're doing.
So,
Call us.
Participation, my friends.
Call us.
yeah, contact us, and with your question, comment, curse, kudo.
Let us know what you know, what you found out.
Right. We got pages set up on a lot of these things for folks to pose a question or answer one that's on there.
Well, and you got stuff set up all over the world.
Yeah, as we get contacts from around the world or on certain subjects, all the many conditions, on the many different ways to apply cannabis, and it depends on your condition, Folks with skin conditions would have worked better with the topical applications and so forth,
Like psoriasis.
Like
the psoriasis.
and stuff. So,
But you have to enjoy the cannabis in the many different forms. In the flower where you would smoke a joint or a bong or do a vaporizer, or edible, or the different oils that you might make up, or the tinctures that you may take.
I think, though, the important thing, well, for me, as an activist, is not so much what's in these studies when they're talking about how cannabis works for these things, but what's not in the studies. There's no bad side effects. Nobody's dying from this thing, you know? We got to finally break this reefer madness curse bullshit that says, oh, we can't allow marijuana, it's evil and dangerous, especially for the children, you know? And wrong, and double wrong, you know? So,
Thank you.
Folks need to be aware that not only is it great medicine for a number of ailments and so forth, but it's benign, you know? These people are trying these things these different ways. Sometimes it works great, sometimes it doesn't work so great, but it doesn't hurt people. It causes no harm.
And no awful side effects like
No permanent ones. You know, a lot of people freak out with the way it messes with your equilibrium. Your vision, you know,
or makes
affects
you
it and so
gain
forth.
weight or lose
Well, you get
weight.
the munchies, you know, but these reefer madness stories about people going crazy and harming themselves and others, you know, that gets back to how it made you insane, you know, and all
That's
that.
a mixture of other drugs, and cannabis might have been part of the mixture, but
In cases where people have flipped
alcohol
out, it's
is
like, what else
the
were they on,
worst.
you know? And they did marijuana. Well, it's not, you know. So,
Natural is natural.
that's, you know, one thing we want to get out here. So, please think, research, ask people, and don't fear the cannabis, you know, don't fear the reefer.
'Cause it's
and
natural.
they use cannabis
Don't
as
fear
one
the
of the
reefer.
one of the ways to get off of the harder drugs like your heroin
Oh,
or
yeah.
morphine.
See,
And
all across, you know, Europe and up in Canada, they're using cannabis in drug therapy and weaning people off these opioids and pharmaceuticals.
Well,
and
they're
shit.
taking one plant and changing the strains. And it tastes bad and it tastes good and it's a medicine. And that's
Well,
what's so important.
It's no small thing. The smell and the taste of cannabis because of the pleasant effects it has.
Medicinal.
But they themselves aren't a factor. They don't contain any real actual quality. You know, it reminds people of things, and so I remember that smell. I remember being well after I consumed this cannabis before. That smell reminds me of it. You know, so but there's no thing in the smell or the taste. It is in the smoke. It is in the cannabis, in the whole plant. That's why it's best to use the whole plant in making an oils and baking, as opposed to just consuming it by smoking it, which is faster. Boom, it makes it happen. Vaporizing also, you're liable to just.
but sometimes
the
with the
top.
oil, you can have immediate good effect from putting it on where you're hurting in pain.
Mm-hmm.
I have carpal tunnel, and this is why I started this. So I use a lot of different herbs, but the cannabis every season is getting added to. And when the olive oil gets low, I add more olive oil. I keep the mash.
Mm-hmm. How about in making butter? It's kind of similar. I mean, it's a cooking process, so you do heat it up, but it's not open flame, so it's not going to catch on fire. There's no danger of explosion.
No.
or anything else when you're making this butter.
Just cooking it and eating it. And
Well, you cook it, strain it out, because you got it like a mash that you need to get the all the liquid out of.
And the best is to use a wine press if you have that handy. But to put it through a stocking.
Right, if you're going to be straining it out.
Yeah.
Now, in the cold fusion process that you use, you put it in a container, in a bucket, or a large glass object. Consider having to pour it back out when whatever it is that you've got, getting the stuff back out. So.
I take the container. I have a pan, a large pan, where I have a colander. I take a scoop of the mash and put it on into the colander. Then I gently press onto it, and I fill
that's
up
what
my.
people have.
Right. So.
And then I replace the mash back into the bucket that we took it out of.
Okay.
Because there's a lot more oil to be
I suppose,
taken
in
out.
theory, one could put it in a container. It'd be probably best to take it off though. But so if you had it upside down with a little spigot and a strain there, so it was all sitting on top with the oil at the bottom, just poured out, kind of a thing.
Right.
Anyway,
You really get into the importance of keeping your containers clean.
right.
And out of direct sunlight, because that affects the molecules
Okay,
in the.
that's right. So no sitting in the front window.
Yeah.
Perhaps in the cupboard, down in the basement, maybe. Also, you want to stir it. You want to agitate it every now and then.
Yes.
Right.
And I take the handle and I spin it around and spin it around and spin it around. And then I open it up and then I take my spoon
And stir it.
and turn the bottom into the top.
Same with the butter making process, right? When you're making your butter, first off, the temperature not too high,
Yeah.
Very low.
Simmer.
and then stirring constantly. Then straining it out, refrigerate it. The stuff at the top's your butter. Go nuts. Is there anything they can do with that liquid, leftover liquid? Does it do anything? I've heard of some people trying to make a tea out of it, but
It depends on people's systems. Everybody has a different metabolism. If he can take it, you might not be able to, and she might be able to. Everybody has a different, what's wrong with them, because we're dealing with patients. And cannabis, that's what I've been dealing with, learning about the cannabis, is finding out what we can help them with cannabis and getting away from the pills
right.
and getting the cannabis to them and helping them with it and saying, wow, we can use the cannabis instead of all the pills and it helps so much more.
Mm-hmm.
The cannabis helps so much more.
Because the cannabis is not a hyper narcotic, addictive drug.
And they get so much more energy, so much better sleep.
Right.
It's all so much better.
Because of all these things that we're talking about here. So
There's no petroleum products in the making of the
The
cannabis.
patient feels so much better. And these are the things that patients have all told me.
yeah, it's our
So-
testimony. That's
what I can say.
well, it's with the cannabis movement here over the decades, it's always been about people networking with people, sharing their recipes, sharing their grow tips, sharing their seeds, their clones, sharing their excess medicine, and how to prepare it and how to apply it. It's special to their conditions. Networks of people with multiple sclerosis, networks of people where their children have autism, and we've got families moving to a state just to get their kid cannabis because it is literally the only thing that works, and in some cases saving their lives.
Beneficial.
And mainstream media doesn't want to report this. the medical profession, certainly the professional pot war industry doesn't want you to hear it. They want to keep that pot war going.
And it's the strangest thing how the Alcohol Bureau is taking care
Right.
of the cannabis.
So,
And they
yeah.
don't care about the patients or anything. I've heard.
no, they're anti. I mean, they're not patients as far as the OLCC is concerned. They're drug addicts. In all the discussion, conversation, if you can call it that, what have you, with prohibitionists, with people that say marijuana kills and insists on that it's more addictive than it's the most addictive, and blah
It's
blah
a
blah.
gateway drug.
Right, it's gateway, that kind of thing. Even no, worse than the thing it's gatewaying you to. So in all the conversations with folks, they insist on refusing to call them patients because that would be admitting cannabis has medical benefits. And I've heard so many prosecutors and cops and others say, "Oh, they're just getting over that marijuana helps them get over their fix, their jonesing in need," and it's not the case at all. And it's just so maddening and frustrating when people are suffering from things like I don't know, like Parkinson's, like multiple sclerosis, like fibromyalgia,
Chronic pain.
Well, not just the chronic pain, but the spasticity that makes them lock up and freeze, as well as be in pain, as well as be nauseous, and all these things. And all these things are fixed by the little application of cannabis,
By
I've seen
blowing
it.
smoke in the patient's nose.
Just get little vaporizers, so you don't have the thing. Hospitals and stuff can do that kind of thing. And it should be. And the only thing preventing it is reefer madness lies. Period.
And the pharmaceutical companies also.
Well, that spew them, that paid for them and keep propagating them.
So, people, talk to your doctors, talk to your children. Cannabis is medicine, and it can be used in many different forms.
And that's what's important. The importance is the different ways the cannabis can be used. And until they understand the different ways it can be used, and that it don't just be smoked, because the fact that cannabis is not just to be smoked. The fact that it needs to be done
That's
so many...
just one of the applications to get the medicine into your bloodstream.
Into your body, yeah.
And
that's just one way, because there's so many ways.
Right.
And medicine is so many good ways to get medicine, and that's what everybody knows. There's so many ways to get medicine into you.
Well, not enough people know, because there's that ignorance when trying to talk to some of the doctors who say, "Oh, there's no such smoked medicine. I don't believe in smoked medicine." It's like, well, you don't have to, A, and B, why not? I mean, that's how it was applied back 10,000 years ago. We didn't have anything fancy enough,
they would throw it into the bonfire.
So, boom, all right, the shaman and everybody would jump around and pray for you, and all was well.
So how much time do we have?
About 5 more minutes, sir.
So people, remember the vote if you can, or you had. And that we need your participation to make things better for the patients and also you. Because it's ridiculous on the fees and restrictions that a cannabis patient or grower or the poor sick person.
Yeah, the program here in Oregon has gotten so backward. It's almost worse than no law. It's almost for a number of people who can't afford it. It's better for them not to get the card and just get their 4 plants. you know, but it doesn't give them the protection. It doesn't recognize it, and so that you can actually, the only way you can travel is medical cannabis paperwork cards, you know, with your cannabis. It's not so. There's a lot of things that go with the card that make it worthwhile in getting it, but it just
It's paying protection.
you can't afford it, which in itself is wrong. You know, you shouldn't be. You know, that's a medical condition. You shouldn't be. It's not.
Paying protection.
It shouldn't be dependent on how much money you make. Oh, okay. Well, now you're allowed to suffer or not. You know,
Pay protection.
accordingly.
Pay protection.
That's not American way. So that's just one reason to register, vote, and get everybody you know
Well, like
to
I
do so also. You know.
I had my friend across the street. We all had our green cards out here that night. There was 4 or 5 different kinds of green cards here on the table. That's wrong. How many different kinds of green cards do we have?
Oh, there's a bunch of them. I'm sure.
So I guess it's getting close to the end. Thanks for Dr. Lebec.
Yes.
Thank you for Shauna.
CCTV.
CCTV.
All the folks.
Mike, Shauna, and the other members
Grandma.
and Grandma Janet. And with their participation, we're still here. And CCTV.
Yes.
Brad, well,
Give us a call.
thanks very much for stopping by and visiting here on this episode of Mercy TV. I'm Perry Normal, along with producer PK and Sonny. We are saying toodles and see you next time on Mercy TV.
Take care, my friends.
Have a good evening.